he took the team to a Stanley Cup final. He took them to a conference final. And, I thank him for that. Those 2 years were amazing years. The blog did very well as far as, readers went. And, it was a great time. But, he had some personnel decisions that were quite baffling over the years as well, where he stuck with some veterans and put them in positions that they probably shouldn't have been in, like a Dan Girardi. And I love Dan Girardi, and I wish him well. He announced his retirement the other day, just an absolute warrior, and one of those guys who brought the Rangers back, from the dead, of the late 90s and early 2000s. So I will forever be grateful for, what he did for, the Rangers organization. But at the same time, because he put his body on the line every night, and Tortorella basically played him 40 minutes a night, he began to, run down a little bit, and Vigneault would still put him out there. And, he would go with, the veterans, I think, a little bit too long, especially on defense. That series against Ottawa, that the last time the Rangers were in the playoffs in a series, they absolutely should have won, and made it to the conference finals that year. Smith and Shea were the top pairing on defense, and for some reason he would not play them at the end of the game, and it was just maddening. With the way he worked the lineup, and it really was time for a change. I think, he had run his course. I think with the fans, with the organization, I think with the team as well. I mean, he was a real hands-off coach. He left the locker room to the players, and I don't necessarily like that kind of coaching. I like a little bit more in your face, like a Tortorella type guy. I mean, that's my kind of coach. I love Torts. I think he's the perfect guy to bring in. I mean, other than Quinn, who I think has been doing a great job. I mean, I think Tortorella, as you saw with Columbus, as you mentioned before, he's sort of the perfect guy to bring in with a young group, because he is so hands-on and can get in a young guy's face and I think motivate him. But I don't think that Vigneault's style would have worked with this team with so many young players and being more of a hands-off type coach, where again, Quinn comes from the college ranks where he's dealing with college players and knows how to deal with the younger player and sit down and talk to him and how to talk to him. So, I think it was the sort of perfect transition to Quinn. And again, you do have to give kudos to Gordon, for seeing that and, making that decision again, not to go, like I mentioned before, with, a retread. You see the same coaches sort of going from organization to organization. And bringing in sort of a fresh face, because I think that's not only good for the Rangers, I think that's good for the league, to bring in some fresh blood and some turnover, which is nice to see. So yeah, again, all positive, and I didn't mean to be like Debbie Downer, from Saturday Night Live, like womp womp womp, but. I mean, it's not all going to be sunshine out there this year, and there'll be lots of issues that I'm sure we'll be yelling about as we move forward. But for now, I have no complaints.
Yeah, and you know what, Kevin, look, every great team that any team that's going to become great has to go through that. So this is still a bunch that really doesn't even know each other that well. You know what I'm saying? They haven't, they got to get on the road together. They got to go through ups and downs. It's the same old hockey adage. It's going to be fun for us to watch, and it's probably going to be difficult to watch too. And it'll be interesting. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and just think about how great it is to go through a rebuild. I love the build. To start at nothing and just to be able to watch the team sort of progress. To go from getting rid of, these icons that we all loved, and did so many great things for the organization, to using, what they've gotten back for those players to bring in these young, talented guys and then watch them take the next step to, progress and become, better players, learn the league, go through their sort of bumps along the way. And then hopefully in a couple of years, you see that pay off into a Stanley Cup champ. How much more gratifying is it going to be, hopefully, when this team wins a cup by, starting from the ground floor with homegrown talent than it is, the way that, say they used to run it, trying to just, buy the best guys, bringing a Lindros and a Fleury and a Kaminsky and, those type of guys, which obviously doesn't work.
The pains are coming back. The pains
yeah,
are
I know. Sorry. I don't
names.
mean to bring up any PTSD for us Ranger fans, but but to go through the build, like I am so like excited for it, and just seeing it sort of progress to this point. And look, it could all fall apart tomorrow with a couple of bad moves where the Rangers are on the cusp of making the playoffs, and Gordon decides like let's go for it this year, and he trades away like a young player. He trades, not that he's ever going to do this, but he trades away Kravtsov for, some, veteran. Look, it could all fall apart just as easy as it started. But I think that they really do have a plan. I don't think JD would ever allow that to happen. And it's good to see them seeing it through, which is why I'm going to have a hard time criticizing really any of the moves that they're.
Oh, come on, KD. You never hold back, buddy.
I told you I'm getting measured in this old age of mine. I don't know if it's that or all the White Claw I've been drinking this summer that's mellowing me out.
I got to reach out and try and get a sponsorship for us there, buddy.
That's right. But I trust this leadership, that is running this team right now to be making the proper decisions. And if they feel as though Kravtsov going to the AHL is the best plan, I'm going to stick with it. If they think that, Leas on the fourth line and Howden on the third line is the way to go, then that's great. Or Hedel on the wing and putting Strome as the second line center, or Nemestikov, or whatever they decide, and, stick, putting Kapokaka on the fourth line.
You liar. We'll be here in 2-3 weeks. You'll be screaming your head off. Are you kidding me? Nah, it'll be fun, man. It's I hear you, man, but that's the cool thing, right? We got nothing to lose here. Me and you jumping back on the bandwagon. Jumping in.
I have to remember that this stuff is going to be archived.
Yes.
And people are going to be like posting clips, sending it to me like, you said you weren't going to get mad if Kapokaka was on the fourth line.
Oh,
meanwhile, I'm calling for, Quinn's head in November.
That's the difference about radio here, buddy. You can go and edit your text and stuff, but once it goes out here,
that's right. On the blog, I just delete that post. What are you talking about? I never said that.
Well, just remind everybody, you all listen to Go Rangers Radio. Kevin DeLury and myself, Paul Cuthbert here. We're kicking things off with a little pilot show. I'll tell you what we're going to do right now. We're just going to take a little break. We're just going to take a sip of water here. We'll come back and we'll just do another 5-10 minutes here and wrap things up as we're excited here to kick things off. The first show is going to be next week. Right before the home opener, me and Kev will talk a little bit about some of the first games that the Rangers got coming up, a couple little things. So, once again, thanks for hanging out with us here. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Go Rangers Radio, right here live from New York, baby.
Go Rangers Radio is always live and archived at GoRangersRadio.com. Follow us everywhere on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Go Rangers Radio. They sure ain't no Leech and Bookaboom, but they'll have to do for now. Back to Paulie and KD on Go Rangers Radio.
See, that was a quick break.
Not bad. I got to get used to this with the commercials and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
What am I going to do with my time? I'm going to shotgun a beer between commercials.
There you go, buddy. Refresh the peanut jar. All right, welcome back, everybody. Pilot episode here. Go Rangers Radio. KD and Paulie kicking things off. We're rambling on here. We're really looking forward to things going next week. It's hard to believe, Kevin, man. We got open night here next Thursday. Obviously, me and you are going to tear things up a little bit next Wednesday and do this every week. But what are your thoughts here about, maybe just a little bit on where the lineup is right now heading into next week, and we'll talk about maybe these first couple of games.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of decisions to be made, actually, and what is it, 8 days away before the home opener, and they have to make some decisions. I mentioned it before that Kravtsov maybe goes to the AHL. Hedel is apparent, has not had the greatest exhibition schedule so far. He's not sort of lighting it up. And then today, Quinn put Strome as the second line center, where he said he was going to go with the 3 youngsters. He said not to look into it too much during his press conference, so maybe it was nothing. So I think he still has a couple of a decision, to make there, whether he wants to start the season with the middle, which, look, I have no problem start it off and see what they got. I think they do need to earn allow them to play because, they're the young guys, and let them sort of fall on the sword and play through whatever adversity they see. If it gets really bad where he sees that they can't sort of fight their way out of it, I mean, he's going to have to make a decision, to move him down in the lineup or send him down to the AHL. But, I would like to see the young guys get a sort of a first crack at it. But, they have to make a decision. If they don't think that a young guy like Kravtsov is going to get a lot of playing time, maybe he is better in the AHL. And I think on defense, I mean, they have a tough decision to make with the 6th and 7th spot, with Hayek and Lindgren, and are they going to keep Smith around? And Joe Morrow has been pretty impressive so far in camp. So
again, great
where
problems
do you
to
go
have
with that? I mean, yeah.
No, I mean it's just a great problem to have, and I think this is again the fun thing with this squad and getting things going here next week. And myself personally, I'll be watching Quinn and the coaching staff, obviously along with everybody else in terms of just how to manage that, because it's no doubt you could see it in Quinn and his press conferences there during the preseason, and he's a little excited too. Do you think maybe he's also maybe just in a little bit of shock? He's like, it's a totally completely different lineup, obviously, with Panarin coming in and Trouba, and obviously getting a kid like Kako coming in, and Zibanejad's been such a great just steady force for the team here. I love the guy a lot. I know we haven't touched on him too much here, but I think he's just he's the new steady guy on the team, and maybe we can get to talk about captainship here a little bit too. But the defense, like you said, great problem to have. Where they're going to go, who's actually going to make that opening night roster, but it's fun to look at. But it's going to be definitely interesting to see where Quinn goes in that. So let me ask you about Mika there, and maybe we can talk a little bit just real quick here on the captaincy and should they name a captain?
I said this the other day on Twitter. I don't see, and Zibanejad is obviously seems to be like the fan favorite to be the captain. I for some reason I just don't see it with him. I don't see that, and this isn't a criticism of his because I think he's great. I mean, he's probably the most skilled player on the team right now, and he does work well with teammates and stuff. I just feel like this team, for the last couple of captains, have had that sort of like lead by example guy, which I think Zibanejad would be. And look, I'm not in the locker room, so I have no idea. Maybe he's just, he's
you want me to get you some credits?
Guys in the
you want me to get some press creds? Come on, you got some time, Katie? I'll get you down there, man.
But I don't see like a captain on the team. I mean, unfortunately, as Ranger fans, are so spoiled with Messier that you sort of try to compare, put everybody up to his, standard, which you just can't. But I mean, I'm looking for more of a little bit of that kind of leadership guy who isn't afraid to say something. Again, Callahan, I think, was more of a lead by example, quiet guy. McDonough was sort of the same way. So I don't know. I think I'm looking for a little bit more seriousness, from a captain. So, I don't know if the guy is necessarily on the team right now. I would say Kreider to me would be that guy because I think he has those kind of attributes.
See, now I totally disagree with that. I totally disagree, Katie. Let's have a fight now, all right? Come on, our first fight. Let's just do it. No, it's funny. I mean, Kreider sometimes is just, to me, especially in big games and stuff, he's just kind of lost his cool and, I'm just not feeling it. Probably the same way you're not feeling Mika. See, I'm feeling more Mika, but I get it. I think what you just said before was perfect. Maybe that guy is just not on the team right now.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that because it seems that and Zibanejad hit on it. He's like, we don't need a captain. We're all fine in the locker room, and we know what needs to be done. I mean, look, again, they're the team. I'm not here to tell anybody what they need or what they don't need. I do like the idea of having a captain. That's just my preference, that when the team may go into a little bit of a tailspin. You need a player to sort of